Welcome to the SecureWorld Sessions. We're a cybersecurity podcast that is all about access. Access to people and ideas that can impact your personal cybersecurity career and help you secure your organization. Hi, my name is Bruce Sussman, and I'm Director of Content at SecureWorld and your podcast host. You're listening to the SecureWorld Sessions now in its second decade. That's only because, we started last decade a few months ago. But in today's session, we are opening the files on being a young woman in cybersecurity. Our featured interview is with Alexis Womble. She's a Senior Threat Intelligence Analyst for BAE Systems. She's been a red teamer, a blue teamer. Then she moved into an analyst role, and for each one of these roles, she was the first and only woman on those teams. What is that like? What's it like starting out in security as a young woman? To find out, we're going to SecureWorld St. Louis, and here is my interview with Alexis Womble. I interviewed her right after she gave a very candid session at the conference. Alexis, tell me about your experience getting into InfoSec as a young woman, which was the point of your presentation today.
Yeah, okay. I ended my whole presentation by saying, this is not a straight or smooth journey, which I think really encapsulates my entire journey, I would call it, I guess. People hate that word, but it's the most true word I could use. Just getting my foot in the door, taking a job I didn't really want, networking, talking my way in, just really struggling for myself, technically, and then finding my niche.
Yes, I'm still not sure how to say that word. I think it's like tomato.
Yeah, exactly. So
tell us, how did it start? So how did you first break into InfoSec and what happened?
Yeah, so I kind of sprayed my resume out there to about 12 to 15 different internships. And I started in a dev role, so I was coding, which gives me the worst headache, and I hate it. No offense,
but
got
it's just not written all over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started there. And then I talked my way into our info security area. I networked the heck out of it. So I talked to our CISO, I talked to all of our senior directors, our directors, our senior managers, just kind of got the lay of the land and then kept communication open. And then was able, like I said, talk my way into a red team role.
And you were the first woman in that role, is that right?
In every single one of my teams, actually. Yeah, so first one on my dev team, first one on my red team, and first one on my blue team.
And tell me about, what was that like for you emotionally, psychologically, professionally? Can you unpack that a little bit?
Oof, okay.
I know that's a lot. That's maybe too much. Maybe just pick one of those categories.
No, it's okay. It's something I'm totally okay speaking about because people need to talk about it. I didn't really realize going in if it would be hard. But as you peel back the layers and you try to work through things, people think you're there as an HR spy. At least that's what I got. They're like, oh my gosh, you're spying on HR.
Because you're a woman, basically.
Yeah, because women are in HR, right? So that was kind of a different thing, right?
I'd say that's different, yes.
So it's hard to connect with people if they might think that. And starting over new and gaining people's trust. There's a lot of things out there going on right now in the media. And it's really hard for a woman, even if your intentions are pure, sometimes your male counterparts are like, uh-oh.
Right.
And not to bring that down or anything because it's a real thing.
Right.
I experience harassment in the workplace. There's not one woman you can talk to who hasn't experienced it.
Right, but you're saying it's created other challenges, maybe unintended consequences that we haven't
because men don't know how to feel around you sometimes. They don't know if they can trust you. And so having to peel that back and show them that you're trustworthy and you can be one of the guys. I hate that, but you can be like them. I talked about in my presentation Pearl, P-U-R-L. It's a Pixar short. It's about changing in the workplace. It's about this little ball of yarn who goes into bro capital and has to knit herself a suit in order to be accepted by the men, and then she realizes that's not okay. And that's what I saw myself doing. I tried to fit in. I let comments go. I let jokes go, and I was like, I need to be accepted because this is my team.
Right. So you felt pressure to be that way.
Yeah. And then it's not all that bad. I hate.
Right.
highlighting all the negative things. Like my next team was very supportive, very nice, very, so it's not all bad. But
and so let's talk about when it got good and how you kind of gained confidence in yourself and your skills and everything else and got a supportive team. What did that look like so that, the other organizations who are trying to bring more women to the workforce can picture this in their mind?
Yeah, so I was really lucky that I had like my manager who was a big advocate for me before I even knew it, because I had networked with him before in the summer. So he was kind of behind the scenes being like, if I had like struggles with stuff, like to be like the person and be like, this is not okay, or maybe you guys could do something different instead of like throwing her in like the fire hose, I like to say.
Right.
So coming to that team, he sat me down and he was like, hey, you're not who you were at the beginning of the summer. You're not as confident. You're self-deprecating. You're all these different things. Like, and I took it like that hurt, but it helped me. Like, I really appreciate him.
Because it was true concern on his part.
Yeah. He was like, this is not okay. We're not going to do this for you. We're going to take this at your own pace. Like, I want you learning, but like, we're not going to turn that fire hose on. So stuff like that. I had a team who every time I would do something compliment, like those little things go forever. They're like, this writing is really good. I only have a few suggestions, like take them or leave them. So it wasn't like I felt like I was being beaten down on, if that makes sense.
Right.
It was very positive.
Yeah. And what kind of advice would you give organizations? Let's start there, because then I want to get to other young women like yourself, right? But let's start with organizations. What kind of advice would you offer for them to make a supportive workplace for, to bring more women?
So this is going to have to start with management, right? Like, you're going to have to make sure your team is built in a positive manner. Like, you shouldn't go to work and feel like you're back at high school, right?
I don't think any of us want to. Most of us don't want to relive high school.
Yeah. So just making sure, being aware you're creating a positive environment in your organization. I think that's really one thing that my last team had done really well. Like, we're all supporting each other. We're here to make things better. We're not here to just like joke around all day and,
right. That's a good work environment.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because from the top down you don't see as many things, but it really starts that way. It really can start with a manager, a director, a senior director having a certain attitude. And I've seen this not only in my position, but other positions where women are like, I got pushed out of technology into more like the HR roles. I got pushed into like the admin stuff because they felt like it's because they were women.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot of stories like that. So, okay, so great. So you've progressed and you got a new gig coming up.
I do.
Now with all that you've learned and all that you've been through, what would you say to other women who are considering careers in security?
Yeah, be true to yourself. That's not going to be easy. It's another thing I talked about earlier is just you might have to rebrand yourself and whatnot, but really find your brand, find your anchors, and don't take... Can I swear?
I guess you can swear, but
don't take shit from people, Like
I might have to beep that one out, but it's a podcast. We can do whatever we want, right?
It's okay. I mean, like that's just how I feel. Like, don't take crap from people. Don't sit there and try to like make yourself someone that you're not, because you're going to be miserable at the end of the day, right? Like, you're going to feel like you're back in high school, like I said. So, really just like go in. It's not going to be easy, especially if it's your first time. You're going to want to try to fit in, but like if people are thinking, oh, you're an HR spy, just be like, whatever, like that's going to make them act okay around me, then that's fine, make jokes about it. I mean, it gets annoying, but eventually it goes away. Yes,
right. Eventually they figure out, wait, she's actually here and she's competent and she's working hard, right? Yeah. Part of the team.
One thing I do want to notice with that is something called tiara syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. It's kind of new.
Okay.
I think we talk a lot about imposter syndrome and beating down on yourself.
Right, yes.
But tiara syndrome is something that a lot of women have problems with, and it's sitting down, working hard 8 to 10 hours a day, and then just expecting a tiara to be placed on your head. Expecting the promotion, expecting the bonus, when you have to get out there, network, sell yourself, work. If you've worked in sales, like, this is really good. Like, you just got to put yourself out there as this like very competent person. So, if you don't know about tiara syndrome, definitely.
Well, and what I would say that even extends to something that I've talked about before, because I had a big journalism career before I got into security. Mm-hmm. And you absolutely, like you talked about branding yourself, it's not enough to just be competent and do good work. You have to, in a reasonable way, let others know you're doing it. Almost like proof of performance. And that is part of what I hear you saying. You can't just expect people are going to recognize that. You got to share, oh, by the way, we've been working on this. I'm so excited about it. We just completed this project. Yeah. Really stoked, right? And just that simple statement gets you some credit.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like about other women getting into technology. I just realized some other great ways is just like outside of your organization, get involved in like communities like we have here in St. Louis, Women in Technology.
Right.
I'm actually moving to Virginia, so I'm going to look for something like that, just like different networking like that. For information security, Twitter is huge.
Okay,
I'm not
yes.
kidding. I started my Twitter maybe it was 6 months ago.
Okay.
And I've met so many people there. They didn't know my name. They didn't know anything about me. I will be putting like my talk out there and stuff, so they'll know me now. But I built 6 months of credibility up because no one had anything to tear me down about.
Wow,
if that makes sense.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Twitter can be a great place for that. I mean, it can be good for both sides, right? As we know, but it's true. There's a lot of women on InfoSec who are very confident.
Yeah, and there's a community out there, like a lot of women supporting women on there, which is what I love to see. I don't want to see us tearing each other down, right?
Right, exactly.
So InfoSec Twitter is really where you can build those bonds, and I mean, I know people now, quote unquote, know people now all over the world, like who support me, and like I said I was coming to speak here, and they were like, "Great, good luck, you're gonna kill it." Like they don't know really what I'm talking. I could have bombed it today, but they were.
And you know what? You did a fantastic job, though. Very well done.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Alexis. Great chatting with you. All the best in your new role.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your insights today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to say thank you to Alexis. Wasn't she fantastic? I appreciate her and her perspectives, and I think it helps all of us understand what it would be like. And hopefully she inspired you if you are a young woman either looking at or working through your cybersecurity career. Well, that's the end of today's episode. And if you've got questions or suggestions, our email address is media@secureworldexpo.com. That's media@secureworldexpo.com. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you for listening, whether you're doing the laundry or you're running the kids to and from practice. Really appreciate you being a part of this podcast. Our audience is growing tremendously, and it's very gratifying, especially because SecureWorld's mission is connecting, informing, and developing leaders in cybersecurity. And one of the ways that we do that on a regular basis is with regional cybersecurity conferences across North America. We have 17 of them. I thought I'd include in the show notes a link to the conference calendar so you can see, is there one near me? And it's a great way to network with peers in the industry. On behalf of the SecureWorld team, I'm Bruce Sussman, your host of the SecureWorld Sessions, and we'll catch up again on the next episode.